Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody that has felines, reptiles, or anything in between, welcome back to Northern Perspective. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Tanya.
And hopefully both of us are finally without viral colds. So that would be nice. Welcome back to another Sunday night of politics, everybody. Grab your beverage of choice, your popcorn or snack of choice, put your feet up, but do not forget to ring the doorbell on your way in. Gives us YouTube points, so YouTube will actually suggest this stream to folks out there who may not have their notification bell turned on, but are subscribers or typically watch things like Northern Perspectives. So if you could do that for us, that would be fantastic. As everybody's filing in and getting their check-in number and sitting down. Thank you very much to everybody who came out to all of the events for the Canada Conservative Women's Association today.
We had, I believe it was 17 events across the country. Ryan and I were at the Brampton location, and we both got to give a little bit of a talk, and it was absolutely fantastic. Thank you to everybody who came out.
Shout out to Erica Alexander, who was heading out the Hamilton chapter of the CCWA, and all of the different folks across the country that came out for it, and everybody who came out to listen, to talk, and to hopefully join the Conservative Party's secret weapon to winning the next election, which is more women voters. So thank you, everybody, and all the guys that came out as well. There was some men that came out to the one in Brampton. I imagine they came out to some of the other ones across the country as well. So just want to embarrass Tanya a little bit. So two days removed. Happy birthday to Tanya, my lovely wife.
Thank you.
She's 1 year younger as usual.
I'm not 40 yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
So,
soon.
Anyway, so before we go any further, house rules.
House rules are the same three as always. Number 1, please respect each other and the show. Number 2, no selling, soliciting, or spamming in the chat. And number 3, please do not use profanity. Barnaby will be moderating this evening, and I will also be helping Barnaby moderate, so we will have a low tolerance for nonsense. Please follow the rules and you won't have an issue.
There you go. So Barnaby is doing quadruple duty tonight. So be good, be not good. Send him questions. Whatever you want to do. It's Barnaby. So just don't order too many virtual cocktails. So anyway, folks, it was fantastic to meet everybody today. And I don't know who we passed on the 403 in the white pickup truck. Somebody was waving out the window frantically, but hopefully you saw that we waved back. It's always great to see people en route between events. So good on NP Nation for being energetic, for being friendly, and coming up and saying hi. And please, please, please continue to do so. Anyway, we're already getting a little behind, folks. We're about 1,000 likes behind. Keep getting those up there. Remember, every like encourages YouTube to publish this more, which brings in more folks from NP Nation. So this was a very good week, considering...
Busy weekend.
Despite the fact that we have a majority Liberal government, it was a very good week. It was a very good week for, well, let's just say, not getting away with the shenanigans that that the Liberals tried from the most unlikely of sources, the mainstream media. And ladies and gentlemen, I cannot wait to share the story that we have with you tonight that completely vindicates Pierre Poilievre's almost 2 year, maybe even 3 year crusade against the most popular and ridiculous question he keeps being asked, but we'll get into that in a minute. So, anything before I get into administrative items? Yeah, we'll do this first.
I was going to say thank you, chat, for all the happy birthday wishes. Thank you.
So, the first order of business that we have to get to is of the feline variety. So, ladies and gentlemen, as many people that were on the live streams and have noticed her comments on the videos, you will know that Jessica Van Luke has been expecting, not her, her cat has been expecting kittens for a little while now, and they have finally arrived. And we get to share pictures of those happy arrivals with you now. So there is Jessica's mama cat, and
Willow is her name.
Willow, and the babies that are there. I don't know if they have names yet, but I call them Furball 1, 2, 3, and 4, I think.
And there's 4 beautiful, healthy kittens.
There they are having a meal at their local McDonald's. Good thing they're in the... I'm glad you waited for them to be all cleaned off, so they're in the adorable phase. And there you go. Nice and
so cute,
snuggling in.
Oh my goodness.
And it's always fun. It's always fun to see new kittens, that's for sure. I'm just trying to get to my little thing here. Oh no, there was one more. There's one more picture. There you go. So thank you very, very much, Jessica. If you want a kitten, please contact Jessica at. No, I'm kidding. She wouldn't that be funny though?
I'm not allowed any more pets by law.
Yeah, also internal house law too. So
I
anyway,
told Ryan next time he goes to testify at Parliament, I'm just going to buy another one that looks like one of the other ones. And is that a new cat? No, that's Pazuzu.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. So anyway, folks, let's see. So the next thing we want to talk about is something that we've been talking about, I think, since before Christmas. And we finally ended up putting it together. So, ladies and gentlemen, by popular demand, Gokodani, you're going to want to pay attention, because Gokodani, I think, has every single piece of NP merchandise that has been put out there. We have some
new shirts. I'll stand up a little. Yeah.
I'm just going to do this.
There we go.
There you go. So these aren't the only new ones, but they are new shirts nonetheless. And what we are going to do is we're going to take you through what is on the new catalog right now, and you'll get to see exactly what is now officially on the NP Nation store. So without further ado, I want to make sure that we're here properly. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you have ordered merchandise from us before, you will see that this is a familiar site, but here are some of the new arrivals that you can see on the NP Nation store. So you can get the Northern Perspective new shirts here. They come in a variety of colors, variety
of styles. We heard that you guys wanted more colors, so we did lots of different colors this time. I'm wearing, I think it was called the Cayman Blue. Mine's a V-neck, but we also have them in the unisex style with the crew neck, and we also made the Northern Perspective ones in a child size because I really wanted one for Vincent, and they just look adorable.
And in addition to shirts, we created one new thing. So I'll go back here and let Tanya show it. So
we have tote bags now with the Northern Perspective on it. They also come in black, but I really liked the the classic beige color. But yeah, so there's our cats forever immortalized on a tote bag.
So now these are like a canvas type of a bag.
They're pretty thick.
So you can use them for groceries. You can use them for carrying around really whatever you want. Jessica can carry her new kittens around in it if she wants. But they are very much I think built for life in Canada, as they say. Now, when you go to the actual store, so let me go back here. So if you go up to the collections link up here, these are all of the collections or types of products that we have here. So there is the alumni collection. So this has a couple of all of the new quote unquote alumni shirts. So you can get like almost like a university or college class of 2026, and we are going to be having these just for the year of 2026, and then next year these will be unavailable, and then we'll make a 2027 version, and then.
Except for the very, very first shirt in this collection, the gray one that says Northern Perspective, NP University, this one's going to stick around. It is a athletic performance tee, so it's made from moisture wicking fabric, and this one's going to stick around. We bought one for my brother-in-law. He really likes it. It's perfect for going for a run or exercising or doing chores around the house.
Going to the gym. So, not gonna lie, I'm very biased. My new favorite is is one of these. So this is the political cowboy design. I absolutely love this. So again, shout out to our graphic artist at Create Inc., Holly Gadori. She does phenomenal designs, and I absolutely love this this design.
And with this collection, you'll notice on the t-shirts, the design is on the front. On the hoodies, because there was either a zipper or a pocket, the design wouldn't fit, so the design is on the back of the hoodies.
Okay.
And also the political cowgirl ones are in white writing. The political cowboy ones are in a brown colored writing. So make sure you select the right one if you are looking to purchase one of those.
Okay. So lots of new stuff for the spring, and hopefully everybody likes it as much as we do. And again, you have you have this, and you'll notice that it has the names of the cats on here, so you can see Pazuzu, Pixel, and Proxy. Proxy sitting here with all the attitude, like she definitely has. So anyway, that is the public service announcement for the merchandise folks. So,
and if you are an NP Plus member, that's the $25 per month membership. You do have a coupon code that you can use for the new merch as well.
Someone, Lee Busby asks, what is NP University? So NP University is nothing really, but a lot of viewers have actually joked that they feel like they're going to Northern Perspective University whenever they watch the channel, because they're learning so much about politics, and they have learned so much about politics. So we figured, you know what? Why don't we create an NP University type of a shirt, and we also have the Northern Perspective College of Parliamentary Knowledge. It's the same thing. So
yeah, we just wanted to be a little bit silly and fun.
Basically, if you're part of NP Nation, you've attended NP University and the College of Parliamentary Knowledge. So anyway, folks, I'll be getting to Lady Loves Cats super chat in a bit. Obviously, she's going to like the cat shirts. So anyway, folks, I think that's all of the what would you call it? The
announcements.
Yeah, the non-political related material and announcements. So let's get to some of the administrative items here. And but one administrative item, we're still about 1,200 likes behind, folks. Let's try and get those up just a little bit more. Thank you very much. The Immigrant Beaver for $5. Yes, 67% polling from early May 2026. 2/3 of Canadians believe the national economy is on the wrong track. Thought Clowney was a economic genius. Well, there's a reason for that, and that's because
he has no idea what he is talking about.
So
there you go.
All right. But yes, that is very, very, I would say, encouraging, because that means that Canadians are saying, wait a minute, what's going on here? 67%. That's almost as many Canadians that actually opposed the carbon tax before it was cut. So maybe we're making some headway, folks. So that's good news. And John Gauthier, member for 27 months. Great to see you two in Port Colborne yesterday. Sorry we didn't get to say hi. Was busy getting photos with Pierre and Fred. So nice to finally meet him in person. Absolutely. We met a bunch of people in Port Colborne yesterday, and thank you for the very, very warm welcome from everybody. That was very unexpected, but much appreciated. We got to go down there and say hi to MP Baldinelli, MP Davies, MP Allison. Is there anybody else there? I think that was all the MPs. And
I think.
And of course, Pierre Poilievre.
And of course, MP Nation.
So it was amazing to meet so many new people and to meet some new people and introduce them to the channel. So that was great. We have Steven Jensen for $5. Once again, Alberta has shown Canada how to get things done with the U.S. pipeline deal, bypassing the dysfunctional Confederation of Canada. So I don't think we need to insult the rest of Canada, but I will say congrats to Daniel Smith and Alberta. That was a very, very shrewd, and I'm saying that in a very complimentary way, a very shrewd move by getting a pipeline, a second one, down to the United States. So don't have to deal with the
BC or Quebec.
Yeah,
on the other end.
with the provincial politics outside of Alberta, increasing Alberta's economy. I think it's an additional 500,000 barrels of oil are going to be anticipated to go through said pipeline.
Like every day?
I think a year.
Okay.
You know what? I'm not sure. But, and it means lots of jobs for Albertans. So that's amazing. So absolutely. Hats off to Daniel Smith. And then Steven Jensen for $10. Alberta has taken note that most Canadian podcasters and Central Eastern conservatives and politicians won't discuss this.
Won't discuss what?
It's okay for Quebecers PQ movement, but ignore Alberta's. Why is that? I'm not sure what you're referring to because... Well, it just happened. The pipeline announcement just happened, so I'm not quite sure what you're referring to. And actually, one of our videos about the pipeline in the MOU that we commented on, and we actually commented on how well Daniel Smith handled Mark Carney. That's actually making its rounds again, and that actually had over, I think, 200,000 views last check. So we are talking about it. Jessica Van Luke for $2.79. Round 2 bound for the Habs. Next stop, Buffalo. Absolutely. You know, I was checking in on that, and what a crazy game 7 it was for the Habs and the Tampa Bay Lightning. I was looking when the Habs scored their goal in the third period, and they only had 7 shots. So, but you know what? Doesn't matter how many times you shoot. It matters how many goals you score. So. Kudos to the Habs and good luck in the next round, everybody.
Barnaby just had to step away from the keyboard for a few minutes. So if you're able to hold on to your questions until he gets back, he'll let you know when he's back in chat, and we'll let you know too.
Revis Ace for $5. Ha! Rosemary Barton and David Cochran hold so much water for the Liberals. They need a tanker truck to hold it all. Filled, of course, from a pipeline. That's amazing. Miriam Rachel for $14. A new House of Commons petition I've been working on just got approved for sponsorship. As this one is focused on floor crossing and accountability. I'll share it once it goes live.
Awesome.
Sure.
Let us know.
And there's many of those going around. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't know if there's too many. So I really don't.
I don't think there's such a thing as too many petitions. I think, you know, there's so many different topics. And even if they kind of overlap a little bit, like...
it just shows there's a lot of interest and passion for it. So.
Yeah, and sometimes they want different goals. Like it could be talking about the same thing, but the outcomes that is being suggested is different. So we are always happy to help support petitions that are through the ourcommons.ca website and also that align with the channel. So if you do have one, just let us know.
It's Crayfish. Remember, for 1 month, good evening, celebrating the Habs win. Finally beat Tampa. I do not like the Lightning, that is for sure. Nor do we in Toronto, but apparently we don't like playing hockey in Toronto either. So Chris Maroon for $5. Hi, Mom. Hi, Chris's mom. And I'm sure she's saying...
All right.
Autistic Adventure for $2. Happy birthday, Tanya.
Thank
I
you.
turned 26 on Tuesday. There you go.
Awesome. Congratulations.
HC Dave for $5. Home stretch. 1 more week of employment, and then I sell the farm and move to Alberta. Bittersweet, but moving on to bluer pastures. Good luck with your move, and wish you all the success there, HD Dave. Absolutely. And Goko9 for $10. Happy birthday, Tanya. Thank you very, very much. And HD Dave following that up with a happy birthday
Thank
as well
you very
for $2.
much.
And Linda Colley for $5. Thank you very, very much. Get good. I think that's what that says. Oh, get good. Get good. Thank you very, very much for that. Colleen Hall Mouse, member for 9 months. Happy birthday, Tanya. Enjoy your day.
Thank you. I will. Or I did, rather. was a few days ago.
And
It was a nice relaxing day.
Construction Cronies, great to see you, Chris, for $20. Thank you very, very much. For the most honest and true Canadian patriots I know, thank you for all the hard work. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Coco Donnie saying for $5 saying, okay, I'll get some next week. New pewter ate a lot of fun. Yes, they will.
It.
They will.
Yes.
And Construction Cronies with another $20. Thank you very, very much. For Tanya, happy birthday.
Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate that.
Jessica Van Link for $7. Thanks, Ryan and Tanya. They are already making little hissing sounds. It's so adorable.
Aww. That's so cute. Oh, my goodness.
We have Rebus Says for $5. At Kate Does Nature 1967 said, should have I survived the Trudeau era and should have I
like
survived the Trudeau era?
A shirt, yeah.
And I agree, enough to super chat. Also, happy birthday, Tony. You know what?
Thank you. Next round.
We might be able to do something like that. So, and checked in. I survived Trudeau.
Well, and then we should have for the folks who are older than us, like I survived the Trudeau era X2.
Twice.
Yeah.
I survived the Trudeau era twice, yeah. And Malay Loves Cats for $10. I am so getting the kitty cat one. Every time I do my favorite hobby, aka woodworking, I wear my if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing.
Awesome.
There you go.
Awesome. I have like multiples of all our shirts, and that's pretty much all I wear anymore.
Real Steven Jensen for $5. Political cowboy, isn't that Western Canadian cultural appropriation that the libtards like to push so much? Yeah, apparently.
So the story behind that actually came, I think it was from a live stream where somebody was like, why are you wearing...
No.
It wasn't a live stream?
It was an X post.
Oh, okay.
Somebody
You
got
tell it.
So somebody got really angry at me on X, and I don't know if it was because I posted a picture or if it was one of the clips that I posted on X. And someone had commented saying, you look great without your hat, and you know, maybe you should do that. You know, don't worry about wearing the hat. You know, go ahead. And then I said, I like the hat, and other people were chiming in and saying, yeah, he looks great. And then the person got really angry and said that you're not a cowboy, you can't wear a hat. And this kind of went on a little bit. I'm like, you don't speak for everybody, you know, and there's a lot of people in Ontario that actually wear cowboy hats. Maybe you should come to Ontario and see all the folks that wear cowboy hats. There's a lot of us folks that grew up in the country, and there's a lot of horse people, and there's a lot of farmers, and a lot of bush people. I grew up in the bush. So anyway, it just went back and forth, and he's like, you're not... So he finally said, you're not a cowboy. So I just replied, I'm a political cowboy. And
there it is.
There it is. So for those of you that want to be political cowboys...
And cowgirls.
You can be whatever cow person you want. So so there you go. Two-Tone TT, welcome to NP supporter. Thank you very, very much. And Real Steven Jensen... for $2, Carney knows exactly what he's doing. Well, I agree that he knows what he's doing, but in terms of how he's executing it, it's not going over very well this week. I can tell you that. Blisters and Beauty, remember, for 26 months using my support option to say I truly love and respect all you all in NP Nation, and ask how many have ordered an anonymous mask already. An anonymous mask.
I don't have one of those. Last time we were at Comic-Con, which Vincent was like just a little baby and my mom was watching him, so it hasn't been for a long time, but they had like the V for Vendetta set with the mask, and it looked really cool, but it was very expensive, and so I didn't buy it.
And a couple more. Marion Dundenhofer, remember, for 12 months. Adding NP University to my resume, great professors too. Actually, I guess I should put that on my LinkedIn. Leaf Busby for $5. I heard MP Dan Albus talking the other day, and I thought I heard Harper when I wasn't looking. The CPC should get him in front of the media more often. There's a lot of great MPs in the Conservative caucus. Dan Major is another one that if folks follow on X, you know who exactly I'm talking about. There's some great, just out of left field material that he kind of reports from committee, and he'll post, you know, official documents up there to get the news out. So he's another good one. And Trish Pruill, member for 28 months. Awesome merch. So sad I can't double like your videos. Thank you for all your hard work. The best university in Canada and fellow students are great. And we're still students every day as well, folks. So
yeah, we're constantly learning stuff. What did I learn the other day? Oh, what the oversight committees were. I knew that they were special committees because the Conservatives were chairing them instead of Liberals, but I didn't realize they were called oversight committees and that their function is very important.
Couple more and we will get into the main material of the evening. Juaniska for $5. What do you think of serial numbers on voter ballots? If they can put it on money, I'm sure they can do it on ballots. Yeah, they could. I believe the whole purpose of
like our ballots being the way they are is so that they can't connect it back to you. And I think that is so that there's no way for, I don't know, say you've got like this really horrible group of criminals and they're like, well, you have to vote for XYZ party or else you're gonna be in a lot of trouble, and then they can track it through those serial numbers. So I think that's why the way they are.
Oh, sorry, I checked my phone because I kept buzzing. I'm like, oh, is something wrong? And then I just realized people are purchasing the new merch. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. We hope you enjoy it.
And SLB Country Girl, member for 14 months, 550,000 barrels per day. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I thought it would be per day because per year just didn't quite sound right.
And Glenn Stewart, member for 28 months. I am happy for Alberta, but we still are stagnating in the rest of Eastern Canada. The Carney circus needs to stop dreaming. Well, this is the way I look at it, because if Danielle Smith can prove that, she's getting things done, I'm just waiting for Mark Carney to take credit for it, just for the record. And people see that these types of projects, when they actually get going, do stimulate the economy, do create jobs, and you can work with our folks, our friends in the United States peacefully and prosperously, in that it's a good thing. I think that's actually a good thing for the rest of the swing voters in Canada to see. Like, we're going to be working very hard leading up to the next election, trying to do what we can to equip people to have conversations with the swing voters, and B, to try and reach swing voters ourselves, to educate them on, this is the bill of goods that you were sold, and this is not the bill of goods that Mark Carney is delivering. And you may not have had time to pay attention to politics to understand that until now, but you need to, because we need to make some serious changes in this country. And
Oh, I was going to say, Barnaby is back in the chat now. So if you would like to continue asking questions, just tag at Barnaby from Northern Perspective and he will gather them up for us.
All right.
And Annie Young, member for 26 months. I bet you that Carney will try and take credibility for the U.S. pipeline. Happy birthday, Mississippi.
Thank you.
Great minds think alike. And we have David Dorward for $14. Thank you very, very much. ×2. Please add 3XL for the bigger guys.
So the new crew neck t-shirts, the unisex ones, I do believe come in 3XL. I can't recall off the top of my head if the hoodies do, but we have let the manufacturer know that, we've gotten requests for larger sizes, and unfortunately they haven't been able to find a supplier with larger sizes, but I'm almost positive those t-shirts are 3XL. So double check the t-shirts.
They are working on the feedback that you guys give us. So
every time we hear something, we definitely pass it along to Slate, who is the manufacturer.
So please continue giving us that feedback, and we will pass it along. And we have Shonen Abridged for $5. Thoughts of Marilyn Gladue losing her X account? Seems like she doesn't care what her constituents think.
Closing her X account.
Oh, closing her X account.
So when they cross the floor, they will typically put their social media accounts on restricted so nobody can see them. I don't know if Marilyn's is permanently closed or if she's just temporarily closed it. And the reason for that is because they will go through and delete all the tweets and all the videos and everything that they've been saying negative about the Liberals, because now they're a Liberal. So in Marilyn's case, I don't know if it's permanent or what, because she's got 10 plus years of these negative remarks.
You might just be blocked, because I'm looking at her X account right now, and they've actually done a terrible job
of cleaning it.
Yeah, because like the recent stuff is with her and Mark Carney, and then right below that, she's still retweeting like Barbara Ball and Pierre Poilievre, and this is actually pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
And they took a while to do it too, because we did not get onto her Facebook account until a day or two later to actually grab material, and it was still there.
Yeah, we were still grabbing stuff. So that's the efficiency of the Marilyn Gladue office, I guess, and Marilyn Gladue herself. So, in about a week, we are going to have a bit of an announcement for the Sarnia folks. So stand by. And Big Kuya John for $10. I love how you stay so positive. Well,
we try.
the alternative to that is living in cynicism, and you know, when we're trying to build a better Canada and a better world for our son, you know, we can't do that from a cynical perspective, so we have to stay positive. So
well, and the other thing I think for us is that we don't like feeling helpless. We don't like just sitting around doing nothing. I don't know if you've ever gone to a friend's house for dinner and you're like, oh, let me help you clear the dishes. They're like, no, sit down. I don't like that feeling. So for me, especially, to just be sitting here complaining and not doing anything active to make Canada better, I can't do it.
Okay, folks. So our first story is kind of bittersweet, but I'm leaning more on sweet. So for the last 3 or so years, all we have heard from the Liberals is Pierre Poilievre refuses to get his security clearance. And why won't Pierre get his security clearance? And we've explained it. Pierre has explained it. But here's just a couple of clips of the time frame on this, and I only grabbed a few. And we're going to end it with Pierre Poilievre actually explaining it to Mark Carney during the English-speaking debate in the 2025 election. So, here's the first part of this story.
It is inexplicable to our security services that they cannot let the leader of the Conservative Party know about the threats facing him, his party, and our democracy, because he refuses to get a security clearance.
Pierre Poilievre hasn't ever bothered to get his security clearance. I've already, during this leadership campaign, filled out my forms. It wasn't that hard to do, I have to say, and put them in, and I fully expect to get it in the near future.
And now, in the face of President Trump's threats, Pierre Poilievre still refuses to get his security clearance.
I'd like to hear an explanation as to why the leader of the official opposition refuses to seek top security clearance so that he can be briefed on these matters that you care so much about.
And Mr. Poilievre, it is now 950 days, if my numbers are right, since you've had the opportunity to get your top secret security clearance, and you've refused. Why?
Well, first of all, I have got my security clearance when I was a minister. I got top secret clearance at the time, so there's no problem getting that. But when the government made this recent offer, they said that if I got the secret security clearance briefings, that I would be gagged under the security law, and I could be prosecuted if I spoke freely about matters of foreign interference. Now, given that Canada has experienced Chinese interference by Beijing, the government of China, in 2 consecutive elections, I needed to do my job to speak freely without fear of prosecution. And that was not something I would be allowed to do. Even Thomas Mulcair, the former leader of the NDP, said that when he was the leader of the opposition, he never would have accepted the kind of gag order that your government and Mr. Trudeau's government was attempting to impose on me. And it's good that I'd made that decision, because it has allowed me to speak freely about things like the case where one of your candidates, sir, actually said that he wanted to send a political opponent to China under a bounty threatening his life or imprisonment. And you refused to get rid of him. Now, it might have something to do with the fact that you went to China not long ago to get a $250 million loan for your company. But the reality is you refused to stand up for a Canadian who was being threatened by a foreign government. And I was able to speak freely on that matter because I refused the gag order that the Liberal government attempted to impose on me.
Well,
Okay. So that was Pierre Poilievre explaining it for I don't know how many times.
Well, and you still hear it in the House of Commons every now and then. You still see it constantly online.
Anyway,
But
it's been explained many, many times. Now, so for people that are watching this, if you still don't believe this, here is now Minister David McGuinty, who was the chair of the NSICOP committee that had the NSICOP report, that they had the NSICOP briefing that would have imposed this gag order on Pierre Poilievre. So you don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe Tony. You don't have to believe Pierre. Believe a Liberal, the actual chair of the NSICOP committee. And shout out to Vesper on Vesper Digital on X for putting together this compilation. And you'll see Pierre's reference to Tom Mulcair in this as well.
You have to understand, and Canadians have to understand, that the members of the committee are bound by the Security of Information Act. The members of the committee waived their parliamentary privilege for the privilege to sit on this committee. That means if they inadvertently reveal information, they can be prosecuted. The members of the committee are bound to this Security of Information Act for the rest of their lives.
Madam Speaker, members all hold a top secret security clearance, have sworn an oath, and are permanently bound to secrecy under the Security of Information Act. Madam Speaker, we cannot claim parliamentary privilege in the case of an authorized disclosure of classified information. That is a point I want to emphasize. Members of the committee, myself included, are necessarily circumspect in what we can say in Parliament and in public. It also means that NSICOP members are subject to prosecution under the Security of Information Act should they disclose information that they learned in the course of their duties on the committee.
Okay, I just want to wrap up then with a final point then for those who are having trouble understanding why not reading the report is actually a good thing. You agree with Poilievre not to read it. I still don't really get that. Does that mean you just sort of wash your hands of it, leave it out to the inquiry?
You can have a member of your party who has access to that information. And one of the things that you have to do when you do look at that information is to say that you're not going to reveal any of it, be that as it may. I think that Poilievre was wise not to tie his own hands. I would never want to be hamstrung because I looked at a government document. I would never want to be told that I can't ask all the questions I want of the government. And I think that on this, Poilievre is completely right.
So, this is what it comes down to. You have the chair, the Liberal chair of the NSICOP committee, the committee that Justin Trudeau actually set up, telling reporters that, yes, you can be prosecuted if you reveal anything as a result of actually getting this specific type of briefing. This is the issue. You can't talk about it, and you can't act on it. So what the heck's the point? Seriously, what is the point of getting this briefing if you literally cannot do anything else? And this is what I mean. Let's say Pierre Poilievre, hypothetically, takes this briefing and finds out that Jim Bob, the MP,
the Conservative MP,
is operating as a collaborator with a foreign state, right? Let's just say that that's happening. Guess what Pierre Poilievre can't do?
Anything.
Anything.
That's what he can't do.
He can't kick him out of caucus. He can't deliberately, start withholding information from, like he can't do anything, and he can't talk about it. He can't even say, hey, you may want to look at Jim Bob over there. He could be prosecuted and go to jail, and that is for life. So that's the big problem here. Now, why are we talking about this now? This is not new. Well, there's a reason why we're talking about this. And the reason why we're talking about this is because back in 2017, an individual filed a court case on this because what this meant is that the Prime Minister could restrict the parliamentary privilege of certain MPs that actually receive this type of briefing, which is what Pierre has been saying this whole time. Well, ladies and gentlemen, for anybody who is still questioning this security clearance issue, you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to Tanya. You don't have to listen to Pierre. You don't even have to listen to David McGuinty, and you don't even have to listen to Tom Mulcair. But there is one body that you must listen to, and that is
the Supreme Court of Canada.
The Supreme Court of Canada. What am I talking about? Let's take a look. Parliament can limit lawmakers' free speech in narrow circumstances. Supreme Court rules. This came out Friday, folks. Friday, May 1st.
A Supreme Court of Canada ruling on Friday allows a Prime Minister with a majority government in Parliament to curtail the free speech of MPs and Senators in narrow circumstances. The 8-1 decision focused on a constitutional challenge launched 8 years ago in the lower courts by a Lakehead University law professor. In 2017, the federal government created a special committee of parliamentarians with top secret clearance to review national security and intelligence operations. It reports to the Prime Minister, but it included a compromise. Committee members cannot reveal what they learned to their colleagues in Parliament unless they are authorized by the Prime Minister. This was considered an abrogation of the centuries-old right of MPs and senators to speak freely in Parliament without fear of any legal consequences. That right is a fundamental pillar of Canadians' democracy. But the Security Committee law meant that revealing secrets in Parliament, even those in the obvious public interest, could lead to the arrest and jailing of MPs or senators. Professor Ryan Alford at the Lakehead in Thunder Bay, Ontario, took the federal government to court in 2018. He argued there is an absolute right of free speech in Parliament imbued in the Constitution. He won at the Ontario Superior Court of Justice in 2022, but lost in 2024 at the Ontario Court of Appeal. On Friday, Justice Malcolm Rowe, writing on behalf of the 8-1 majority that included Chief Justice Richard Wagner, stated that the Constitution allows Parliament and provincial legislatures to define their privileges. This includes imposing some limits on free speech in arenas such as the House of Commons. The ruling means a Prime Minister with a majority government can set the rules. Legal experts say it also means a minority government with the support of opposition MPs can collectively curtail their right to speak freely in Parliament. But Justice Rowe made clear that any limitations, quote, cannot fundamentally alter or undermine Parliament's role within Canada's constitutional order, end quote. In the case at hand, the Supreme Court determined that the restrictions on parliamentary free speech in 2017's National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians Act was, quote, a narrow limitation of parliamentary privilege, end quote. Quote, it does not affect free speech in Parliament more broadly, end quote, Justice Rowe wrote. In 2017, the majority government under former Liberal Prime Minister Justin Trudeau passed the Security Committee law. The Conservatives, NDP, and Bloc Québécois voted against it. This would have been when the Liberals had a majority. On Friday, the federal government welcomed the Supreme Court ruling. The Security Committee, quote, has performed an important and necessary oversight function since it was created, end quote, said David Taylor, a spokesman for Public Safety Minister Gary Anasangari, in an email. Quote, this decision means its work can continue uninterrupted, end quote. In a dissent at the Supreme Court, Justice Suzanne Cote said the limitations in the Security Committee law were too broad. She said the federal government overstepped its constitutional authority.
Okay, what does all that mean? What that means is that the Supreme Court says that those who take the NSICOP briefing and those who commit to serving on the NSICOP committee are bound. And the Prime Minister can say, nope, you cannot talk about anything that you learn in those briefings and in that material, and you cannot do anything. Just as David McGuinty said, just as Pierre Poilievre has said from the beginning. Now, one very important point that the article mentioned at the end, just in case this gets misinterpreted online. This does not mean that Mark Carney can wave his hands and prevent MPs from speaking about oil and gas. He can't wave his hand and prevent MPs from speaking about the Prescribe IT issue for ArriveCan, SDTC, Brookfield, any conflict of interest investigations. He cannot do that. That's been established by the Supreme Court. If he tries to do that, good luck with that. What that means is if he tries to censor MPs and they continue to talk about it, they're not going to be arrested and they're not going to be prosecuted.
Well, because you can't try to censor them on those cases. As the article said, it is in very specific circumstances, a very narrow scope.
So I very much appreciate the fact that the Supreme Court in their ruling not only ruled on the issue at hand, which is the NSICOP committee, that's the National Security Council for something in parliamentarians, but they also ruled on the boundaries of the actual power of the Prime Minister in terms of curtailing the parliamentary privilege. Now, remember, parliamentary privilege is an MP's right and ability to actually execute their parliamentary duties. So, casting votes, speaking in the House, representing their constituents, that's all upholding and executing the privilege of a member of Parliament. Basically doing their jobs. So when you hear somebody raising a question of privilege or violating privilege, that's essentially saying something is impeding that member of Parliament from being able to do their job properly. So that's a very important distinction in this ruling right here. They're saying if you take the briefing, yeah, the Prime Minister can say you can't say anything about it, but that's it. The Prime Minister can't just go off willy-nilly and stop you from talking about Brookfield.
Well, and the inverse of this means that the Prime Ministers, meaning Justin Trudeau and now Mark Carney, either of them could provide this information to Pierre Poilievre and permit him to speak about this stuff publicly and in Parliament.
And I want to go back to something that Carney had said in the
in the debate?
No, in the... Wow, my words are not coming to me today. Anyway, in the video earlier, where he said, I've already gotten my security clearance, I've applied for it, and I don't understand the problem. Because the Prime Minister's security clearance is vastly different than everybody else's security clearance. The Prime Minister's security clearance, he gets access to see whatever he wants, but there's a very important distinction and privilege that the Prime Minister has. He gets to reveal whatever he wants, within reason, to the public if he believes it is in the public interest to do so. People that serve on the NSICOP committee, people that take the NSICOP briefing, like Yves Blanchette, like Jagmeet Singh, like Elizabeth May, like Pierre Poilievre, they are not allowed to decide that something's in the public interest and disclose it. And the article made that very, very clear. The ruling makes that very, very clear. So, what does this mean? I wouldn't even say it's necessarily a bad thing that this ruling came out, because number one, it just validates
that Pierre was right.
That Pierre has been right all along. Oh, surprise, surprise. Pierre was right and the Liberals were wrong. Breaking news. So he's been right all along on this again. The Liberals have been wrong on this all along again. And even more than that, it's obvious that the Liberals have been lying their keisters off all along again. Because one clip I didn't bother showing you is David McGuinty is now out there questioning why Pierre Poilievre doesn't have a security clearance. Like, dude, back in June of 2024, you were out there talking to reporters, telling everybody this is what happens if you get the security clearance. You can't say anything. So I actually loved this ruling because it completely validated everything that Pierre said and it sets guardrails around Mark Carney, and that he can't just censor people willy-nilly.
Yeah, it was a great birthday present.
So this is I think a really, really strong win from this. So anybody out there that is asking for the security clearance, just check the video. You'll see the link to that article. You can say, you want questions around the security clearance now? Go read this, because the Supreme Court of Canada has ruled on it. There's no more appeals. It's final. And Pierre was right all along. Now, the great thing about meeting Pierre in Port Colborne yesterday was we got to chat with him briefly. We got to take our picture with him, as many other people did. And if you ever get a chance to go to one of these events, make sure you're following your EDA or some of the other EDAs in your area, and you may get a chance to do that. Is that we actually got to tell him about this, and I don't think he knew about this story.
No, it didn't seem like he did. So, you know, he didn't really say much, but he had a bit of a smile on his face when we were like, "You were right," and this proves it.
So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, but this is great ammunition for Pierre and the Conservatives to just throw back at the Liberals and say, "What? You know, don't you respect the rule of law? Don't you respect the Supreme Court because they've ruled on this, guys? Are you trying to say the Supreme Court's wrong? Well, too bad."
And just one quick tip, if you are interacting with people online who are still asking, why doesn't Pierre have a security clearance? Don't say, well, Northern Perspective said blah, 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 because they'll dismiss us as a source, unfortunately. Just point to the Supreme Court ruling or that Globe and Mail article, and that'll do the talking for you.
Or you can point them to the timestamp where David McGuinty is specifically saying that people will be prosecuted. That's a good one too. But anyhow, so that was one win that we got this week. And so that was a blow to this just stupid narrative that has been going around for years about Pierre Poilievre. Like, he can't get a security clearance because and his family is...
Well, this way I don't know if it's bots or if it's real people just regurgitating this stuff online, because, you know, we had proof before, but now the Supreme Court has made this ruling and it's airtight.
Yep. So, so there you go. And anyone worried about Carney, you know, censoring, you know, the random MPs in Parliament, he cannot. He can try, but the Conservatives can just like hold up the Supreme Court ruling and be like, good try, buddy. And then they'll keep talking. So I am not worried about that one bit. And I guarantee you the Conservatives aren't worried about that one bit. Now, we will be throwing all of the links in the description of the live stream right after we're done. So hang tight. It will be there. Now, the other part that happened this week was, it actually relates back to what someone had asked us before. You know, or had said, it's nice that, you know, you can stay so positive. It's because we have a very optimistic outlook, and we see all of the conservative Canadians around this country that are still fighting for a better country. Now, some people think, well, you know, we can't do anything, and I'm only one person. Yes, you are only one person, but the one thing you have to understand is there's a lot of other people out there just like you, and they are doing something. And all you have to do is join them in the chorus of relentless pressure that they are exerting on the government right now. What do we mean by that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we all know that 4 committees were effectively shut off this week. They were put in camera, or they were adjourned completely because the Liberals just didn't want to discuss things in public. And, well, let's just go to the first video on this, and some of you may have seen it, some of you may not, but this is actually a CBC panel ripping the Liberals to shreds on this. Check this out.
And the Conservatives are pretty angry. It's happened 4 times this week in 4 different committees. Althea, what do you make of it, and what does it tell you?
Well, it's not just that the public cannot see what is happening, that we journalists cannot see what is happening. There's actually no historical record of what has happened. There's no transcript of what happens behind closed doors. So this is a reason why last week when we first talked about this, I said I thought it was a bit rich. I don't remember exact my words, but that the Liberals had added two Liberals to every committee. And basically the Liberals have given themselves the power to take over committees. So the opposition doesn't even have the tool of like walking out and trying to prevent quorum from happening. The Liberals can do whatever they want. And so the onus, frankly, is on Liberal MPs. They have a responsibility. They are not there to do the bidding of the government. They are there to represent their constituents. They're actually there to hold the government accountable. They are not members of the executive. Cabinet ministers don't sit on parliamentary committees. And so they also need to serve as a check. Now, I understand the Conservatives have used committees to aggrandize themselves, to put clips on social media, to fundraise. Sometimes they've been quite obstructionist. But some of the things that they suggested this week are entirely reasonable. Like, for example, requiring PCO to provide regular updates on the Prime Minister's ethical screen on Brookfield, that seems entirely reasonable. And as Justin Trudeau used to say, sunshine is the best disinfectant.
So what would be the point of this tactically, Chantal? Like, I just don't understand why, if you've got your majority, why, and you have control of the committees, why the committees can't just do their work so that people know what they're doing.
So government insiders tonight would have you believe that all of a sudden in 4 committees, Liberal MPs woke up with a personal initiative to do this. I find that very hard to believe.
No kidding.
It's like the light came on in every brain at the same time. But in any event, this is a dangerous thing to do for the government. I'm not going to go into accountability, but rather this is a government that has a very fragile majority, one that can be questioned by some on legitimacy. There will be by-elections. If you are going to spend the time between now and then convincing Canadians that the reason you wanted a majority was to shut down debate, good luck, because one day you will start losing seats. And at some point you will lose that very fragile majority. So of all of the things you can think that were smart to do this week, getting a majority and using it to do this is probably one of the dumbest moves that one has seen in a long, long time.
It's funny because as Chantal was talking, even Rosemary was kind of forced to agree with her. So what she was saying is that government officials, they're positioning this as, oh, well, these MPs were operating, by themselves. This was just a personal decision that they made, and the committee just happened to vote with them. All of the Liberals that were in there, they just decided to go in camera. We had nothing to do with this. And that's where she's saying, yeah, government officials would have you believe that that's what's going on. Not that, the government is instructing all of these Liberals to just shut down any possible opposition from any of the opposition MPs in the committee, no matter what stripe they are.
But, to me, it just shows that the Liberals think the Canadian public is stupid and that we're going to buy that excuse.
Well, and this is where the Canadian public has proven that not so gullible, right? And there's a reason for that, because CBC also put out a story on this, believe it or not. Liberals commit to open committees amid flack for moving several behind closed doors. Government House leader says committees should, quote unquote, virtually always work transparently and in public.
The Liberal government's House leader says he's committed to ensuring parliamentary committees operate in public after Conservatives cried foul this week when Liberals used their new majority to move several committees behind closed doors. Quote, the fundamental role of parliamentary commons committees, standing committees, is to hold the government accountable, to probe government spending indeed to approve government spending in advance, end quote, Steve McKinnon said Friday. Quote, that work is work that I very much respect, end quote.
Now, I wanted to see exactly what McKinnon said, so I was able to actually find the presser where he did say it. So that is what I'm going to be showing folks now. So here you go.
Merci. Next question.
Hi, David Thornton, CBC News. At least 4 committees have gone in camera this week, parliamentary committees, making their proceedings private. Others have rejected proposed studies on public funding. Is this a democratic use of your government's new majority, and will Liberals continue to use this tactic?
I'm sorry, rejected studies on public funding? I don't know what that means.
Rejected studies on studying how government spends its money.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the fundamental role of parliamentary commons committees, standing committees, is to hold the government accountable, to probe government spending, indeed to approve government spending in advance. That work is work that I very much respect. Those committees and the institutions of Parliament that they support are incredibly vital, and we're determined to continue to extend our hand across the aisle and to work with opposition parties to keep those committees transparent, open, and doing their work in public, as they mostly always have. The fact is that I accept the government has an increased burden of responsibility in terms of ensuring that accountability and that transparency, and that's a burden that we welcome and expect. But the opposition also has a role to play in all of this. If everything they do as they march into committee meetings every day is dilatory and seeks to impede or obstruct, well, then that is going to provoke a counter reaction, because committees have jobs to do. They have work to do, and when opposition MPs seek only to impede and obstruct the work of committees, then obviously there has to be some order and balance brought to that situation. But I accept that the burden of the government is to ensure that this work remains virtually entirely done in public.
I remember watching this when it happened, and I had said to you, that's so gross that he's blaming the Conservatives for this.
Yeah, we may be going in camera, but it's the opposition's fault that we're doing it. You almost, I was waiting for him to say, it's Stephen Harper's fault. It's Stephen Harper's fault that we're doing this. So isn't it funny that they're like, well, if the opposition is going to continue to hold our government to account, there's going to be a response to that. Like, that's kind of what he's saying. But the important part in this is he has gone on camera and said the committees will be virtually entirely in the public view. Okay, they better be.
Well, and there are legitimate reasons for going in camera, but they're very limited. Usually it's things like, say they need to bring CSIS in and they need to ask them some sensitive questions, then they'll do it in camera so that the public doesn't see it. Or when committee is just talking about committee stuff, like how they're going to run the committee, who's going to do what, etc. Oftentimes they'll have those in camera because there's not really a point in having them public. It's just boring committee talk.
Yeah, there's many times in the past that committee meetings have been in camera. So this is not a new phenomenon, folks. The new phenomenon is the appropriateness of it.
Right.
And when the first one was going to go in camera, and this was on the health committee about prescribed IT, one of the MPs, I think it was the Black MP, was like, why? The problem is that type of motion, you don't debate.
No.
There is no debate on it.
No, and if you watch our interview with Andrew Scheer that we did last week, he explains how this is a dilatory motion, like what a dilatory motion is. There's no debate, and what the difference is between that and a substantive motion, if you're like us and really are a procedural nerd.
But here's the big but, folks. The good news about this week is that we as Canadians, and I'll even give a shout out to some of the swing voters out there, because there were some people who voted Liberal on this that they didn't like this, what was going on either, right? They did not like this, and that shows that there are Canadians paying attention to this that did vote Liberal that are now saying something doesn't smell right in Kansas anymore. So what ended up happening was this went so crazy on social media, and there were so many emails sent to the mainstream media. There were so many emails sent to Liberals that were sent to Conservatives.
I think the Auditor General as well?
Potentially.
Yeah.
But there was so much pressure that came forward, they had to back off, and they had to relent, and the mainstream media had to push back against this as well. So when there's the naysayers out there that will tell you, and that they tell us, well, you can't do anything, we're powerless. This is proof that we are absolutely not powerless, folks. So within 1 week, the Canadian public pushed back on what the Liberal government in its majority status was doing, and forced them to surrender that. And now they're on record and saying, well, we're going to be, virtually entirely in public. Okay, that's fine. The interpretation of that is it's going to be completely in public, aside from appropriate uses of in camera. So if you're directing your MPs to shut down these meetings again, guess what? That's going to look twice as bad the next time around. And the Canadian public at large just needs to be ready to get on your horse for writing emails, for making phone calls, and sharing these stories and these reports of this around social media, so that they understand that the Canadian public will always be watching. So that's the first part of this.
I just want to address one item in the chat, that the Committee on Prescribe IT is not only behind closed doors, but discussions are blocked from the public access for 30 years.
Oh, incorrect. So what that means, do you want to talk about it?
No, you can go ahead.
Okay. So there has been some misunderstanding and evidently some misreporting on this. So I just want to make sure everybody understands this. When a committee meeting goes in camera, the subject of that particular meeting, that is not transcribed, it is not published, and the members in that committee meeting are generally prevented from speaking about what happened in that particular meeting, yes, for 30 years. However, there was a motion in that committee meeting. We actually have the minutes now from that committee meeting, and the Auditor General is going to be doing a study on Prescribe IT. So that was actually passed. That's a good thing. So when the Auditor General finishes that, and when she comes into committee and testifies it at committee, that has to be public. If it's not, I can tell you all hell's going to break loose for the Liberals. So I dare them to try and make that in camera. So they can talk about new things in Prescribe IT. They just can't talk about what they were discussing around that motion in that particular meeting. That's that 30-year ban. So when the Auditor General comes in, they can ask her all the questions she wants. They can challenge her. They can pull out data. They can pull out details in Prescribe IT. They can do all of that. So I just want to make sure that that's completely clear. It doesn't bar the Conservatives from talking about Prescribe IT for 30 years. They're two very, very different things. It's still disgusting, the fact that this was just a simple motion and should have been debated in public view. That we completely agree with. And the subject of the debate, that is not on official record, and we're not allowed to see that. But the follow-up and the fallout from the actual audit that the Auditor General is going to be doing with regard to Prescribe IT, that will be made public.
And we are working behind the scenes to do an expose on Prescribe IT, so that will be coming within the next few weeks.
Yeah, we're hoping to do a lot of work on it this week, and we will show you exactly what the Liberals don't want you to see. So now we have one last item, and this is regarding the CBC and their coverage of the Sovereign Wealth Fund. And let me tell you, we were shocked. and I'm not being dramatic here. I was actually shocked. As we were watching the CBC cover the Sovereign Wealth Fund, I think Tanya and I just kept saying to each other, like, can you believe this? Can you believe they're actually doing this?
Is this real life?
Yeah. Am I watching like the equivalent of Saturday Night Live, but in Canada? So, ladies and gentlemen, we did a piece that we're actually quite proud of on the Sovereign Wealth Fund. And we kind of ripped it apart. Conservatives have ripped it apart. But you wouldn't expect the actual CBC to be ripping apart. But that's exactly what they did. And our friend Vesper, again, shout out to him. He cut out the irrelevant parts of their video, so it's shortened to about 6 minutes. Sit back, enjoy, and watch the CBC completely tear apart Carney's Sovereign Wealth Fund.
So look, the government can call this almost whatever it wants.
A new pillar of our plan, the Canada Strong Fund.
Just don't call it a
Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Okay, but I'm just wondering, where's the wealth and who's funding it?
Many countries that are blessed with natural resources, like Norway, have sovereign wealth funds. Canada hasn't had one until now.
And I totally get why Mark Carney would want to put these two things side by side, except I'm going to show you all the ways in which Canada's sovereign wealth fund is not like Norway's.
This is not a sovereign wealth fund.
It doesn't seem to be a traditional sovereign fund.
I think it's unfortunate that the government chose that name.
Almost all the sovereign wealth funds that I'm aware of are owned by countries that produce a ton of oil. They derive a great deal of income from resource extraction.
But in Canada's case,
the government's deficit ballooned to close to $62 billion the last fiscal year.
A deficit of $68.5 billion.
This year, it rings in at $78.3 billion.
One think tank pegs the running Canadian debt at just over $1.4 trillion. The cost to service that debt, north of $50 billion per year, making it one of the single most expensive line items in the entire Canadian government annual budget. And that's forecast to go up to $80 billion by 2030. And how much deeper are we digging this hole each year? The Canadian deficit for this past fiscal? Almost $70 billion. So, not to make anyone feel bad, but this country isn't exactly flush with cash. It consistently spends more than it makes, and it's borrowing money to make ends meet every day.
Carney has no surplus and therefore no wealth to put in such a fund. He's talking about a sovereign debt fund.
The problem is that essentially we've had deficits year after year, and the debt is growing. And that debt is very costly for Canadians right now and in the future.
When we're taking government budget deficits and investing those deficits in these projects, we shouldn't expect that that's going to generate, a strong financial return for the Canadian taxpayer. It's probably not.
It is not a sovereign wealth fund in the traditional sense of a sovereign wealth fund. This is an equity fund, and investors, both government and the private side, take risk.
Now, to be clear, Canada's major projects will mostly be built by private companies.
Now, there are all kinds of interesting questions we can ask at this point. One of them from the opposition leader.
If a project has a business case, why would the government need to fund it?
I think that's a fair question. But another question, don't public-private partnerships already exist?
Can you help us understand how this is going to be in its goals different from the Canada Infrastructure Bank that was launched under the previous government, and why you need an entirely new agency to do what you're doing?
Yeah, well, thank you for the question, because it's a crucial one.
Carney says the difference with the Wealth Fund will be in having an equity stake in the projects that get greenlit. That, in theory, should lead to great wealth down the road, unless it doesn't.
In case a project goes south and fails and doesn't generate returns, the Canadian taxpayer is, in a sense, going to be left holding the bag on any of these investments that, in fact, don't work out.
Who underwrites that? Is it the fund? Is it the government? Or will households make a loss? That's going to be politically costly.
And let me just spoil the ending here for you. The track record of the Canada Infrastructure Bank is often debated. Just 5 years after it was founded, the House of Commons Transport Committee recommended that the bank be abolished. Projects got built, but they tended to be more expensive. And there were all kinds of questions about whether the projects that were ultimately selected to be built were the right ones. Were they truly in the Canadian interest, or were they just the ones that made the private sector the most money?
Many of the investments that the first Canada Infrastructure Bank made, I think, were widely perceived as being made largely on the basis of politics, rather than on the economic or financial viability of those projects.
But I think it's very reasonable to ask, what is the actual mandate of this fund? Is it nation building?
The Canada Strong Fund is about solidarity amongst Canadians, no matter where they live.
Or is it about creating and maybe even hoarding wealth?
It's essentially a national savings and investment account. It's designed to grow wealth for future generations of Canadians.
Almost every expert I've heard from on this story has expressed a lot of skepticism.
Generating strong financial returns for future generations of Canadians and investing in major infrastructure projects that are in the national interest but have nevertheless not received private sector backing, those two goals do not go hand in hand. In fact, I think they're more or less diametrically opposed.
But the other thing to consider here is the internal conflict of a fund guided by a crown corporation that is in the business of picking winners and losers in its own country.
He wants to put another $25 billion on the national credit card to gamble on a Liberal slush fund that will enrich Liberal insiders at the expense of hardworking Canadians.
I think many people see this as largely a continuation of the Trudeau-era Canada Investment Bank 1.0 strategy with some minor tweaks.
So there it is again, that feeling of, well, let's wait until we have all the facts. That's fair, we should. But the facts so far have invited a lot of doubt.
Okay. So, there was no real massaging to that by Vesper other than putting the TV around it and adding Vesper TV and putting the subtitles. The rest of it, that was all CBC. That was all taken from the same video that they did.
And he didn't just pick out the negative parts. That was the mood of the whole video.
Yeah. There was just some repetition of some of the things that they were saying in there, and that was the part that was taken out. There was no, well, this is kind of a good thing. No. That was the whole thing. So, imagine the state of journalism in this country if that's what we got every single time. Not like dumping on Carney every time, but real facts.
Yeah.
Real facts. And holding the government to account. So, the old guy in that video, that's David Dodge. If you don't know who David Dodge is, he is also a former governor of the Bank of Canada. So is Carney. But I thought Carney's a genius because he was the former governor of the Bank of Canada. Wouldn't David Dodge also be a genius because he was the former governor of the Bank of Canada? So who's right? Well, this is the fascinating thing, because Pierre Poilievre was just criticized by all of mainstream media for saying that Carney's education was crap because he's getting everything wrong. Like he was using hyperbole, but they're trying to say that he was doing it literally. But he's saying that Carney has been wrong on virtually every major financial matter in the last 10 years. Well, with the Sovereign Wealth Fund that Carney comes out and says this is everything it's going to do, you have now former governors of the Bank of Canada, you have economists, you have policy think tanks, and everybody in between saying, this is not what you're saying it is. And it's not going to do what you say it's going to do. And the things that you say it's going to do are actually completely opposite of what they're going to do. You can't put money into a national interest and savings account to make generational wealth for Canadians while also taking all of that money and dumping it in projects that you don't even know if the private sector is going to back.
Well, and one of the things I find most concerning was that in a recent press conference, and you'll have to forgive me, I don't recall which one specifically, but Carney was asked about the Sovereign Wealth Fund, and he had made the comment that Canadians who put money into it will not lose their initial investment, that it will be there. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, how are you going to do that unless you're going to be borrowing more money to backstop that? Like, so then what's the point?
Right. And I believe that was brought up in this clip that you just played, where they said, who's underwriting this?
And I think one of the parts that you didn't see was when they said, well, the whole point to this would be for him to say, listen, if you're a private investor, invest your money. And what this fund will do is it will guarantee you don't lose money. So if the project goes south, and that's what they were saying, what happens if the project goes south? The fund would act as a backstop for those private investors. So that way they can, they could put in, let's say, $10 billion and oops, the project goes south because, we have overregulation on oil and gas here. So then what would happen is the private organization could potentially, depending on how they structure this, get all their money back. And who holds the bill?
Taxpayers.
John Q. Taxpayer.
That's right.
So for Carney to say, this is going to generate, generational wealth.
Again, we're not giving anybody financial advice, but me personally, I will not be putting any money anywhere near this.
So the fact that Carney is saying this and literally everybody is coming out against it, it proves that, look at that, Pierre Poilievre was right once again. So this was a very bad week for Mark Carney and his Liberals. And I don't think they could have made any, well, they could definitely make more poor decisions, but they certainly didn't make a lot of good ones. And I will take that any day right now.
Well, and additionally, they released this news of the Sovereign Wealth Fund, but don't have any of the details ready. When you make a major announcement like that, you want to have it ready to go so the public can see it, so the media can see it, so Canadians know what's going on. You don't just make this announcement and go, yeah, we'll figure it out in a couple months.
Well, Champagne was in the House of Commons. Mr. Speaker, this is going to be a Canada Strong Fund. It's going to be good for all Canadians. Yeah, it's good news, everybody. Like, that was it. On repeat. That was Francois Philippe Champagne. So, great job. Great job convincing everybody not to actually see this as a good idea. But stay tuned. And here's the other very important thing about the Sovereign Wealth Fund, folks. Remember, I believe I asked Franco Terrazzano in the interview that we did. The $25 billion that Mark Carney talks about isn't in the spring economic statement. So that tells me that we have a budget deficit of potentially around $66 billion. That's actually not $66 billion. It's more like $91 billion. Because if you don't have that $25 billion that you're putting in there as a line item, you can't just say, well, we're not actually spending it. We're just putting it in the bank. No. That's not how this works.
That's still taxpayer money that you're removing. But in this case, it's not even taxpayer money. It's money you're having to borrow from a bank to put into your own savings account.
Right.
Savings account.
Anyway, that was Carney's week, folks. And I think it's going to get a lot worse coming this week, because now the Conservatives are going to be reminding the Liberals ad nauseum that they can't be shutting down committees. And they're going to be reminding them that your sovereign wealth fund is not what you say it is. So anyway, folks, I was really looking forward to tonight's show to share all of that with you, and I'm so glad that we actually got a chance to. So I'm going to get through what I can in the next 7 minutes before question period in terms of the administrative items. So stand by. I'm going to refresh YouTube because it's probably going to crash on me at some point. Anyway.
Yeah, mine's acting up.
So let's get to this, and Tanya's going to keep not me, but YouTube honest.
I will do the best I can. If you think that we have inadvertently skipped over your super chat, or if
please
you
let us
some
know.
Gifts, just let Barnaby know, and he will let us know.
Bubble Avenue for $7. Oh, you're on your right account this time. Happy 29th birthday, Tanya. Looking good. There you go.
Thank you.
And Andrew Christie for $2. LOL, I live in the GTA and wear a cowboy hat. You're not a cowboy.
Political cowboy.
There you go. Get a shirt. Peter Whitten for $5. I wear a Brahmin hat when I ride like the man from Snowy River. There you go.
Very cool.
And Delphine, welcome to head NP supporter. Thank you very much. Displaced Hamiltonian. Displaced to where? Member for 15 months. I'm a retired oil sands worker. Alberta doesn't just have cowboys. Keep wearing your hat, Ryan. Thank you very much. It keeps the shine off of the camera. Whiffers SS for $10. Should have told the guy who insisted you weren't a cowboy, don't have a cow, man. Ah! he would probably just look at me and say,
How dare you?
So, and Stephen Jensen for $10. Alberta perspective of Canada. Now, this is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning. Winston Churchill. Good quote. And the Immigrant Beaver for $5. Carney can't take credit for the pipeline. Trump signed an executive order for it. Doing that, he would be letting your elbows down on a large scale. Oh, he can. He
might try. Like, I don't know.
He took credit for forward guidance. He took credit for the Paul Martin Liberals balancing their budget, even though he wasn't even around them. He took credit for getting Canada out of the 2008 financial crisis, which was, largely the Conservatives and Jim Flaherty.
And also, there was a National Post article around the time of the election that said, allegedly, he had plagiarized his thesis.
So,
or parts of it, not like the entire thing, but that was the claim being made.
And we did a video on that one too. So he definitely can. Whether he will be successful on it, I think you've already laid that out, that he will not. Due to a member for 32 months. Evening, lovely NPA community. Well, had an odd morning. A Carney Liberal actually physically spat in my face today at work.
Holy smokes.
Shows how petty libs are. That's technically
Dude, that's
assault.
Yeah.
That's actually assault. So, wow.
Wow. I hope you were able to call the cops, or if there was like video footage, like security footage or something.
Or if
That's
it was a
awful.
colleague, hopefully HR is getting involved. Oh my goodness.
HR and the police.
That's
just beyond unacceptable. And there's this saying that if words are violence, then violence are words. And that's concerning to me.
My Lady Loves Cats dropping 10 memberships. Thank you very, very much for that. And to Dalek for $10. I love the hat. I'm pretty sure I own the identical hat.
Awesome.
It's Justin XX. Pair it with some comfortable everyday boots and a pair of jeans. Cowboy hats are now what all the cool kids are wearing.
That's right.
I do need to get some boots, I've been told. So maybe that'll be something I should get. And I've been told by one of the other viewers, Chris Van Bommel, don't just buy boots and put them on the first time and go and while you're walking around the Stampede or walking around Alberta, your feet will hate you for it. So apparently got to work them in a bit. So,
it's like breaking in dress shoes, yeah.
So first it's a matter of looking at getting boots, and then
we'll get you some when we go out to Calgary.
No, but I won't be able to wear them in Calgary. That's the problem.
No, but you could still put them in your suitcase and take them home.
Sure, I guess. Peter Whitten for $2. Be kind and gentle when dealing with swing voters. Absolutely.
100%.
Every Liberal voter is a potential Conservative voter. Right? And Jessica Van Luke for $2.79. Here's to the big 4-0 next year, Tanya.
Thank you. I've decided that I'm going to stay 39 forever.
And Just Me Nicole for $5. I love that you keep your merch affordable. Thank you.
Our pleasure.
It's one of our core missions. We make a very small amount on it because people don't have a lot of money to go very far.
But not just that, it's again, like, yes, we do derive our income from Northern perspective, but it's not about money for us. It's about community. It's about just coming together and getting the government that Canadians deserve.
It's running a business with a conscience is what it is, right? And, we don't want to make things out of reach. It's kind of the whole mission, actually, of Northern Perspective, is we want to make everything we can within reach of Canadians.
Especially parliamentary knowledge.
Yeah, whether it's information, whether it's, video content, It's still funny to me when people say, "Why do you have a paywall? You're keeping things from your viewers." Have you seen what's behind the paywall?
Cat videos, Ryan putting together his new computer.
There's nothing critical behind the paywall. Anyway, but it's really our mission to keep everything as in reach as possible. And Slim Chance for $10. Mark Carney believes that well-educated bureaucrats with no oversight or accountability can manage Canada, just like the EU. And look at how the EU economy is performing, right?
Yeah.
And we have Long Legs, Daddy Long Legs, member for 5 months. Respect all you do. Thank you. Pam Lambert, member for 28 months. Thank you very much. I heard today that 40,000 restaurants predicted to close this year. Most cite tax debt the reason to close. Tax debt. Well, and this kind of aligns with CTV's report a couple months ago that they were saying, what was it? It's like 60% of small businesses were going to close within 6 months.
Well, like I used to work at a restaurant in college, and the profit margins are not huge. Like the cost of the food times 2 is pretty much what they're charging for it, but that doesn't include like staff wages and any food that might spoil and you have to throw out, and the building rent and the electricity, etc., etc., etc.
Autistic Adventure for $5. Problem is lefties will never accept the truth about security clearance because it ruins their narrative. Even some moderates don't get the full truth. No, but it's the moderates that our target audience is, right?
Yeah, for me, when I'm saying something online to somebody, my target is not necessarily the person I'm replying to. It's that person who comes along after and reads the conversation and goes, oh, that Tanya person is actually making some logical and calm points. And they've got evidence.
It's the interesting thing about looking at social media, because you're not looking at the entire ecosphere in there. Even in Northern Perspective, like, we understand that a video may get 1,000 comments on it, but it's not because 1,000 people were interested in it. There's a multiplier that goes with said comments. So for everybody that's talking about not liking Mark Carney, there's a multiplier in terms of how many people actually are in that. There, for people that are commenting on the actual content itself, there's a multiplier for that. The thing to remember is when it comes to the swing voters and the moderates, almost none of them comment online. They are watching, they're lurking. And it's precisely because the fact that they're moderate. So they don't have a strong enough opinion to actually type out. There's a few that do, but most of them are not actually typing, they're watching. So just when you're navigating social media, understand that most of the people that will swing, you're not going to see their comment, but they will see yours. So Tanya's point is very, very good in terms of understand who the real audience is out there. Real Stephen Jensen for $5. People, not politicians, are the answer to fix the problems of Canada. 100%. I agree with you. All politicians have an agenda, and you're not in their club, so we don't matter.
I would push back on that second part, just because I think we've gotten to know several politicians, and pretty much all of them are just like, I want what's best for the people in my community. And I don't know if that's just a conservative thing, but they seem very engaged with the community. Like our MP Ned Curick is fantastic, and even the guys in his office, they're all incredible. Like, we were speaking with one the other night, he says, this is a customer service job. It's very important to make sure that the people in your constituency are getting the support that they need.
And if we're not getting the politicians that have that integrity and that have that commitment to their constituency, then it comes down to the voters, both in the nomination of said candidates when it comes to the ridings. And if you don't see a candidate there that has the qualities that you want, and you think you might have those qualities, step up, go get it. Because we can't change the culture of the politicians in Ottawa unless we start putting people in there that will actually change that culture. So I agree with you. There are definitely a lot of politicians with an agenda and that they look down on everybody. Completely agree with that. But I think there's a slow It's a very slow changing of the guard that's happening, and we're seeing some of these MPs at the ground level as we're interacting with some people. So let's do a couple more.
Okay.
So, doo-doo for $5. Carney must have forgotten to send out the propaganda checks this month at MSM, right?
Maybe.
Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
Or it's like so egregious that even CBC is like, I'm out, man.
Right? And they're just looking at what's going on. And
WTF.
Gordon Meir dropping 10 memberships. Thank you very, very much. And Myron Ends as well. Thank you very much, Myron Ends. And coming in with $2. Hit the like button, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Granite Man for $2. What will be Carney's plan after Kuzma explodes? That's good. That I'm waiting for that.
I'm not waiting in a good sense. Like, I'm scared.
I'm just curious, just from a strategy and a political fallout perspective, because Kuzma is literally his entire platform. It's almost like Kathleen Wynne and the gas plant in Ontario. That blew up, not actually, but politically.
Metaphorically.
And that took her out. It took her out. So I think Kuzma blowing up, that could take Carney out, because if you better believe that if that happens, he's going to be swarmed by everybody. And I mean everybody, because that was your whole reason for running. And that was your whole reason to tell Canadians to vote for you. And if Kuzma blows up, what, you're going to sit there and say, but it was Donald Trump. You said you could handle Donald Trump. You said that you knew how to negotiate with Donald Trump. You said that you were the man to deal with Donald Trump. So you're now saying that you couldn't handle Donald Trump and you weren't the man to deal with Donald Trump. Sounds like we probably should have chose somebody else. So I'm going to be very interested to see what happens when it comes to that.
And thank you to Mervyn Rice for gifting 20 Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much for that. And Myron Ends, member for 19 months. High fives all. Thank you very, very much. And Granite Man for $5. Have source in public safety, RCMP, CSIS target Alberta separatist leaders. Well, I guess we'll see.
Interesting.
I guess we'll see. Adam Canadian for $5. Not everybody is a baseball player, but we see a lot of people wearing baseball caps. So what's your point? What's yours?
Touche.
I think I have one meme that encapsulates that person on X, and it's this.
Emotional damage.
And then we'll move on. And Andrew Christie for $5. The elbows up crowd is going to be punching air hearing this news. Well, there you go. And Robert says for $5, you can say anything you want as long as it agrees with the narrative. As long as it agrees with the ever in power liberals. Right, CBC? Apparently not. Apparently not.
Like I said, it was so bad that they even had to back away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that says something.
It's like Homer Simpson backing into the hedge is what it was. So.
That's a meme we need.
Right? Alrighty, folks. It's that time again. And as soon as I can find my my intro. There it is.
Oral questions. Oral questions.
Oral questions.
Let's be careful about some of the words we use. People are watching at home. Their kids are watching.
Okay, it is NP question period time. We are going to answer as many questions as we can, as fast as we can, and as accurately as we can. So let's get started. Jessica Van Luke asks, will you be covering the BC Conservative leadership race announcement live on the 30th? This is so important, and it will get everybody across the country watching.
We'll see.
Yeah, our inclination is to say no, just because we're not super familiar with BC politics, and I think we'd be doing it a disservice.
So we'll think about it, but
I think there are people who are probably more
educated.
They know the subject matter better, so they will be able to provide better commentary, a better podcast overall. Unfortunately, I don't think that's us.
But we'll see what happens. So.
Jessica Van Luke asks, any interviews with CPC candidates coming soon?
So candidates, not yet, but we have an interview lined up that I think people are going to be very, very, very interested in. So
I don't think we've nailed down the date yet.
No.
But yeah, we do have something with one of the MPs in the works.
So you know exactly who they are if you've been on social media over the last week and a bit.
Strange Brew asks, have you ever considered advertising the channel on CBC?
Yes. Yes, we're
Yes.
actively looking into this, actually. It's
Or
it's
Marion
quite
is
funny.
anyway.
Yes, we're looking into this.
Leaf Busby asks, is Northern Perspective planning on expanding into new avenues with partners?
With partners.
Like as in sponsors? We do from like every now and then get offers for sponsorship, but it has to fit with Northern Perspective. Like we want it to be all Canadian. That's really important to us. Like even our merch manufacturer, the clothing is made offshore because most clothing is, but they do the printing in house. Our graphic artist who designs the t-shirts, she's actually here in Hamilton. So like we're not opposed to the idea, but it has to be the right fit.
Yeah, and if we were to do a sponsor, our goal is that let's say we pick a sponsor and we start talking about it. Most people in NP Nation will go, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense why they would
choose that.
Choose them.
Yeah.
Instead of, what? Why are you talking about health supplements? Why are you talking about precious metals? What's going on? Where are Tanya and Ryan? So, and we've had, as Tanya says, like we get emails about this, and if we just wanted to cash in, sure, like we could just say, sure, come on, we'll talk about your product.
But Northern Perspective is more than that. It's yeah.
It wouldn't feel right, and we would want to make sure that we believe in said product as well, right? Because people are going to view it as, well, if we're talking about it, then we trust it and we endorse it. So
well, and our audience's trust is not for sale.
Right. So
next question is from Wolf547. It says, do you think after the summer and the elite speech in September, Mark Carney will get the Trudeau treatment? Maybe.
I don't know if it'll happen that quickly, but I think some damage has been done. I think definitely some damage has been done. I think, and Chantal had talked about it, right? And this is what we've been talking about. So it's nice to hear some usually pro-liberal people and pro-bloc people are saying what we've been saying. This is a fragile majority, and if they start screwing around, there's going to be by-elections, and those by-elections are going to be a lot more visible because of said fragile majority. And if they start messing around and public opinion really starts swinging the other way, we could be right back to a minority government right quick, and then we go to a confidence vote, and all of a sudden we're into a general election.
Oh, and this kind of reminded me of one thing that MP Dean Allison had said at the Burlington EDA event on Thursday night, because he was asked about floor crossers, and he said, listen, and I'm paraphrasing, this isn't a direct quote, but basically that they're saying, oh, we have 8 or 10 MPs that we're talking to that are ready to cross the floor. He says that could be as simple as crossing each other in the hall and being like, you did a really good speech in the House today. We could use an MP like you on our side. And that's the end of it. So are they actually in talks? Maybe, maybe not. Next question is from Craftwork0243. It says, could the Governor General be useful for once and help opposition block Liberal power grab and censorship binge regarding committees if opposition regroups and asks?
No. So the Governor General does not have any power like that whatsoever. Governor General's role is largely ceremonial and typically serves at the pleasure of the Prime Minister. There's rare exceptions in Canadian history where that has happened, but she does not have the power to restore committee or anything like that.
Dwarf Kingling asks, would the Americans have any reason to bail out Canada's mold, tool, and dye industry? I'm going to say no, because they want them to essentially leave Canada and come to the US and set up shop to create more US jobs. And obviously, as Canadians, we don't want that to happen, because once those jobs are gone, they're not coming back. but we did hear
There's
through.
There's going to be we're going to have a
announcement
video
soon.
tomorrow.
Oh, it's tomorrow. Okay.
We're going to have a video probably tomorrow afternoon on this as an update.
Next question is from Don B. It says, when committees are put in camera and no one can talk about it for 30 years, why do they even continue the committees if the outcomes are secret?
Because it's just regarding the content in that meeting. So if, let's say they're talking about, the color of the drapes in House of Commons, and they're talking about that in camera, but then in the next meeting, they have a witness that comes in and starts talking about the color of the drapes in the House of Commons. Well, now they're talking to that person about it. Now they can talk about it because it's being talked about in a public forum.
A lot of it is often to protect, what do they call it in industry?
We call them courageous conversations and constructive debate, but there's also industrial secrets.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Thank you.
And intellectual property. So that's usually what they're talking about. And again, there has been in camera evidence presented. There's been in camera evidence and discussions related to Stellantis, right? And we covered Stellantis in the fall, and they were still able to continue that investigation and continue talking to witnesses. So it doesn't cause the entire subject to be stopped for 30 years. So I want to make sure everyone's really crystal clear on that, just in case there's any conflicting information coming on out there.
Yeah. So for example, if they had brought in, Pazuzu's company and they were asking all sorts of questions, and then they got to the financials, and Pazuzu's company's like, well, we can't really tell you the financials to the public because it's going to hurt our competitive edge in the market, blah, blah, blah. So they'll go in camera for say 5 minutes or 20 minutes or however long it takes to get that information so the MPs know, but the general public doesn't know.
Yeah, so I'll try and sum it up. So when you go in camera, any debates that are talked about when it comes to motions or anything like that, you can't talk about what you said in the debate, and you can't talk about what other people said in the debate. The outcome of the motion or the outcome of the vote, that is present in the minutes because that's an official matter. If there is any amendments made or in debate on the amendments, you don't get to see that unless it was, you just see the final outcome of what was done in committee. But if in the next meeting you have witnesses come in and they happen to be talking about the same things that you were talking about in camera, it's fair game. And you can also talk about different subjects and ask them questions. You just can't refer to anything that you had said and tell anybody about what anything was said behind that camera. If that makes sense. It's an interesting scenario, but it does work because, again, during the Stellantis investigation in the fall, there were multiple meetings where it actually went in camera and they saw full contracts, unredacted, but they couldn't talk about what was actually redacted in the public sphere. And if you actually go back and watch some of our episodes on the Stellantis investigation, you'll see where the MPs are struggling with that because they want to, and they're struggling with why they have these redactions in the first place.
M. Soother asks, should Pierre stop saying the national/government credit card when it is really the Canadian taxpayers' credit card? We pay for Carnival's reckless spending, not him.
I think it all depends. What the Conservatives are trying to do, I imagine, with that is they're trying to make this relatable to the average Canadian that may not know a lot about finance. What do they understand? Credit card. So obviously there was some discussion that went on behind the scenes, and this was the term that they settled on. So for whatever reason, that seemed to be recommended, and that's what they're doing. But that's the reason behind why they come up with these terms, is they're trying to make them relatable so people can say, okay, very quickly, I know exactly what you're talking about here.
Yeah, I think I was just going to say that properly it is the taxpayers. We all know that. But again, for the average Canadian who's not very in tune with politics, by the Conservatives saying it's the government credit card, it's putting this association on the government that they're spending on a credit card, which we all know is bad because there's a lot of interest, etc. So it kind of creates that like neural link in your mind. Rachie88 asks, why didn't the Conservatives propose an opposition motion for immediate by-elections for any floor crossers? NDP and Bloc would have supported this last year. I don't think it was a problem a year ago.
Yeah, well, and in the fall, I don't think they anticipated that there was going to be a majority government, number one, and number two.
Well, and it wouldn't be a motion, it would have to be a bill. And then because it's a private member's bill, you have to go based on the order of precedence, and that itself can take a while. Like any member can put forward a bill, but if they're not within that order, it just kind of sits there in first reading, sometimes forever.
Over 90% of private members' bills never see the light of day.
Yeah.
So you can't handle that in a motion. A motion is to essentially try and do something procedural. To change legislation, and in this case, you would need to change, the Parliament of Canada Act. That would need an actual bill, and that's what Tanya's talking about. Is you would need a private member's bill. So you wouldn't be able to do that within like a span of a week. That would take probably a year or two, or maybe never. It depends on when it comes up.
Cody BST says, did the Liberal government ever take the 90-ish recommendations back in 2017 when Elizabeth Wetlaufer case happened? If I'm not mistaken, you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but this was the case of the nurse who was injecting patients with insulin and then they were dying. I honestly don't know. I don't know. I don't imagine that's a very common scenario where you have somebody in healthcare who is actually murdering their patients. But yeah, truth is, I don't know if they actually implemented any of those recommendations. And I suppose the other thing would be, is it a federal concern or would it be a provincial concern? Next question is from Jeff McQuiggan. It says, it's two questions. First, is there an equivalent to an impeachment in Canada?
No.
And second, is there a minimum number of days that an MP and Prime Minister must attend question period?
No. But historically, it is extremely frowned upon by the Canadian public at large when the Prime Minister chooses not to show up to work. So...
Ravi Sadies asks, Reg from the Elevate report is trying to start up what seems like a new polling company on the East Coast. Thoughts? Would you use them?
If it turned out to be reputable and if it was accurate, I don't know if I would use. Well, we don't use any polling company.
Yeah,
right
so
now.
we don't really pay too much attention to polls at the moment.
But I understand probably the inclination to do that, because if you don't trust that something is accurate and you have no options, an option is fine. I'm going to start my own.
Well, that's how Northern Perspective came into being.
So I'd have to wait and see, and if it followed the guidelines and if it was demonstrated to be accurate, and
it depends on the methodology, right? Because we can look at some of the pollsters that exist now and go, we know that's not a good sample size. We know that collecting information online is not correct. Like there's all sorts of things that can affect polling, but I think that's why we don't pay attention to it much.
Yeah, but I think at minimum, I think it would be interesting to have another comparative to the other pollsters out there. So I think it'd be interesting.
Wolf547 asks, after the summer and the elite speech, do you think Carney will get the negative Trudeau treatment?
We already.
Oh, did we? Okay, sorry. These are.
Way to go, Barnaby.
How dare you?
Thank you, Barnaby. This is from the Lightbody SG. It says, should the Liberals lose the 3 upcoming by-elections, Wilkinson, Nate Erskine-Smith, and the Quebec MP, would they be obligated to retract the added Liberals in committees?
So no, because the Quebec MP, that seat belongs to an NDP right now.
Yeah, but they could pick up another one.
No, they're saying if they lose them all. Based on the polling, the NDP is expected to win that seat again, but we'll see what happens. And when it comes to those other two, if they go down those two, they'd be at 172. Now, if they go down to 172, which I don't think would happen, but let's just game theory this, that would be fascinating, because that would give them a one-seat majority, meaning the speaker would have to weigh in every single time. And that puts the speaker in a very, very, very awkward position, because they're supposed to be impartial. And if the government were to try to change anything procedural at that point, the speaker would be obligated to vote against the government. So that would be interesting to see that scenario. And also, Mark Carney and the Liberal House Whip, they better understand that nobody is having technology issues with any of their equipment, and that everybody shows up to literally every confidence vote, because a couple missteps and you have a fallen government.
Richie88 asks, do you agree we will get the highest turnout with the most bold policies given earlier to Canadians unabashedly? This needs to be defended against mainstream media and Liberals.
Like, turnout is in people
Voter
voting for
turnout?
them?
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have an educated opinion on that.
Yeah, because I'm not really sure what drives people to get out and vote. I mean, for me, it was always just because my parents drilled it into my head. Like, this is your right as a citizen. You go out and vote. Like, I've been doing it since I was 18. There was, I think, a provincial election maybe a month after I turned 18, and I was there and I cast my ballot. So I don't really know what will or will not entice people to vote.
We know it's not fear, because we didn't really have a large uptick in the percentage of Canadians that came out to vote in the last election. We're still only, I think, around 66% of Canadians that came out to vote in the last election. That means about 8 million voters didn't vote. And just for context, the Conservatives had 8.1, and I believe the Liberals had 8.4. So,
and like, I know what causes people not to vote, and that's that feeling of hopelessness. And that's why we encourage people to get out of that echo chamber and stop listening to the people who are telling you Canada is finished, Canada's lost, this is the end, etc., etc., because those things are not true. We need to all come together and vote, and that will make things better. We'll get the government that we want.
and again, we go back to this talking point. For the people that are saying, you know, why bother voting? Why bother signing petitions? Canada's done. Canada's lost. You don't have to ask them this question. You should ask yourself this question. Why are they so interested in me not getting involved in my country? Why are they so interested in me doing that? They can choose to do what they want, but why do they want me not to get involved?
Misery loves company.
And that's a very important question that people should consider when dealing with all of the doom and gloom online. So, yeah.
Nolan Baptiste asks, after seeing how bad this country is being run, do you think members of the Carney government step down in large numbers, and would it cause an election before 2029?
That is a distinct possibility.
I think it's possible, but I'm going to say it's not likely, just because we saw how much everybody hated Justin Trudeau and how bad things were. And instead of these MPs saying, you know what, I'm done, I'm out, they convinced him to resign because they wanted to keep their jobs.
Well, but before they convinced him to resign, what did we hear? I don't think I'm going to run in the next election. I need to spend more time with my family. I think that's going to be that's my personal decision. It's nothing to do with Mr. Trudeau. That's just my personal decision. Justin Trudeau resigns. Mark Carney starts running. I think I'm going to come back to politics. My family doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. So that's the decision I'm going to make. I think that's what happens. So, but it's also possible that, depending on the level of backlash, some people may be like, I'm going to retire. I'm done. If I don't retire now, I'm not going to have anything after politics. So it depends on the level of backlash. And what we said when Mark Carney was first elected if Mark Carney fails, even at the same level as Justin Trudeau fails, the backlash will be a lot larger, because it was the no, trust me. It's the abusive partner saying,
I won't hurt you
I
again.
won't do it again.
Yeah.
I won't do it again.
Yeah.
Trust me this time. I've
Yeah.
changed. And so
And we're seeing that party has not changed.
it will be very, I think, very, very ferocious the next time around.
Ryuchi88 asks, why are we not working on conservative strategy to win for the majority of our time? All we do is bash the Liberals. It is not as productive to sway swing voters.
Well, this is why we don't just sit behind the camera and complain about Mark Carney, right? So this is why we try to educate folks and not just, point and laugh at Mark Carney and go, aren't they bad? This is why we go out to EDA events and, we don't get any compensation to do so. We do so because we want to walk the walk. We don't want to just talk the talk and say, well, all of you should go out
and
change this country. Meanwhile, we'll keep
here.
We'll keep the seat warm.
Yeah.
No, we get out there. We door knock. We volunteer. We went out to the CCWA event today to support them, and that is building a movement. So that's actually exactly what you're talking about here, which is building the movement even more in order to shoot for that conservative majority. And you do that by building allies in the community, by bringing more people in and showing them what being a conservative is. And it's not being a mean, grumpy old white man. It is just being an average Canadian. You want a prosperous country, you want common sense, and you want to be able to have cordial discussions with people around you and not having to divide families and rip relationships apart because someone's a liberal.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, when Liberals attack us, usually online, I don't think we've ever had a case of real life, but when they come to us and they're like, well, you guys are peddling misinformation, we're just like, okay, well, what specifically are you referring to? Because we can't have a discussion with you unless I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, I don't know. I haven't watched your videos.
Yeah. So anyway, next one is also from Ryuchi88. It says, do you agree Carney is deliberately causing anti-U.S. sentiment to not getting a deal for political gain?
100%.
Yeah.
That's
my hypothesis, yeah.
That's the disgusting part.
And it says, this has not been explicitly called out by Pierre, in my opinion. I think when you are opposition, you have to be very careful about levying those kinds of accusations unless you have like solid proof.
What would happen if Pierre started doing that is the liberal narrative and the media machine would turn immediately against him and say, well, see, he's been pro-Trump all along. And everyone would say, what? But that's what they would say. They would say, look, you're questioning my motives. I'm trying to stand up for Canada. I'm trying to make Canada strong. I'm trying to defend Canada against Donald Trump. Look at what you're doing. You're talking down what we're trying. That's what would happen. So they have to be very, very, very careful. And this is why Pierre is really trying to stay in the realm of, this is what he said, this is what the facts are. This is what he said, this is what the facts are. So after Kuzma, he's gonna remind everybody, this is what he said, and this is what he delivered. Where's the deal maker now? So he's playing it very careful right now, and I think in a precarious situation, which is where they're at, they are playing it as tight as they can, and they have to be careful how far they stray from that. So there can be some strategy that people are confused as to, well, why are they not doing these two things? It's politics is all about risk management.
Mm-hmm.
So and probability of success, and that's what you're constantly gauging with every single sentence that comes out of your mouth.
Captain Stark asks, thoughts on the June grocery bill.
Captain Stark, my thoughts are winter is coming.
So I'm going to assume you mean the grocery rebate that they're sending everybody. I'm just going to read what Google's AI says. So the payment date is June the 5th of 2026. You have to be eligible for it, so not everybody's receiving it. I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, that when they announced it, they said about 30% of Canadians will receive it. So obviously it's a good thing for those 30% of Canadians, but what about the rest of us? Grocery prices are high for the rest of us too. And also a one-time payment is not really going to help all that much. Like, I'm looking at the Google AI right now, and it says a family of 4 can potentially receive up to $717, and single people can get up to $267. That's a one-time payment. So yes, having extra money is always a good thing, but that for a family of 4 right now is about 2 weeks of groceries. What is that going to help in the long run?
Yay.
So it's not doing anything. It's like slapping a Band-Aid on a surgical wound and going, okay, it's fixed. And you've got, organs falling out everywhere.
Yeah, it's crumbs. And Champagne always loves to use this as well, we're addressing affordability with the grocery rebate. Oh, really? Okay. Sure. Let's do 2 more.
2 more? Okay. Let me see. And I put the pressure on. Valiant CM asks, what can I do to help in the next election? I am an Albertan and there is blue as far as the eye can see. Can I do something worthwhile from afar? And the answer is yes. Sometimes EDAs and like campaigns out here in Ontario, out east, etc., they will use folks in Alberta or other blue ridings that they know they don't have to worry about campaigning super hard. And they'll have them like make phone calls or mail letters and things like that.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of remote things that you can 100% do. And this is where I think the Conservative movement needs to, take a full, a real Team Canada approach, not this BS, Team Canada approach that Mark Carney tries to talk about and sell people, but a real Team Canada approach. You could also try and get rid of the Liberal that's in Alberta too.
This was another good one regarding participation. It is from Josiah McFarlane. It says, nice to meet you in Burlington on Thursday. What kind of things could people do besides door knocking, as I don't have the gift of public speaking? There is a lot that you can do for your campaign. I don't particularly care for door knocking either. I'll only go if Ryan and I are going together. And he does the talking. But you can make phone calls. I found that much less intimidating because I'm not like going to somebody's house and knocking on the door and seeing them face to face. Ned's EDA had just given me like a bunch of phone numbers and they're like, okay, call these people, ask if they're supporters, ask if they would like a lawn sign. And it was really easy to do. Most of the time it just went to voicemail, but you leave your message and you go on. You can also put signs in the ground. When it's get out the vote and on election day too, I believe you can offer to drive people to and from the polling stations. So there's all sorts of things you can do.
Okay. All right, folks, let's finish the administrative items. Here we go. Food for thought, member for 6 months. Have you heard if Pierre is coming to Edmonton soon? I think we could use a little bit more positive about Canada. Don't know, but you can always put in a request to your, I know their MP Kelly McCauley is in Edmonton West, I think.
I think so.
Is his. So you can always send an email to his office and ask him, hey, get Pierre out here.
Or odds are pretty good that you have a Conservative MP. So if you do, ask them. They might be able to let you know.
Unless you're in the one riding that doesn't. So.
No, I think there's 2 in Edmonton, isn't there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Leap Busby for $5. I noted a private member's bill is coming to force opposition leaders to get the security clearance from Bruce Vanjoy. Not sure they can force this, to be honest. No, and I know there's a petition.
There was a petition. I hadn't heard about a private member's bill, but if you give me 30 seconds, I might be able to see if I can find anything.
But no chance that happens. Hell Knight JP, member for 8 months. Happy B-Day, Tanya. Pierre was right. Go figure. How can we find out where Pierre will be that MP supporters can attend to show support and possibly meet? That's a tough one. The best advice I can give at this point is to make sure you're following the conservative EDA associations on social media in your area, and they will usually post if Pierre is going to be in the area and if there is an opportunity to meet, and if there's going to be events and things like that. I don't know if he has a running, because his schedule changes
on a dime
often.
sometimes. Yeah.
So he was in Hamilton. We didn't know he was in Hamilton.
No. Well, and actually, shout out to Gail for sending us the email and letting us know that he was going to be in Port Colborne. We had a really good time. It was awesome.
So that's what I would recommend.
And just going back to the previous one, Fandroid does not have a bill currently in the House. So I believe it was just the petition. Whether or not they tried to do a private member's bill or a government bill, I don't know, but there's nothing yet. That
would probably be a mistake, because the opposition, all of them, would weaponize that as the Liberals are now trying to introduce legislation to censor MPs.
Right.
That would not go well for
Right,
them.
especially with this ruling that just came down Friday.
Yeah. Carol Realm for $10. I'm glad this panel is actually criticizing Liberals for abusing their majority powers. I'm still mad that they helped the Libs get there. The lack of self-awareness is a bit sickening.
Yeah, that's fair.
I get that, yeah. Jump and Wave for $10. Not so much about Pierre being right, but Pierre being honest. They try to say he lies. He was telling the truth all along. Well, two things can be true. He was honest and he was right. And Eugene Bomback for $14. The CBC clip is very funny. Love it. You rock.
Thank you.
And the Western Canadian for $10. Machiavelli said a misinformed majority will vote against their own interests. Guess what is doing CBC, Radio Canada, Global News, and CTV after receiving billions? Yeah. There you go. And Ravisays for $5. Westminster system assumes people involved are honorable and will do the right thing. This government has consistently drifted towards totalitarianism, in my opinion, and autocracy.
Yeah.
Mr. Andrew Coyne agrees with that.
And, you know, there was one very stark difference I noticed when we were watching the U.S., was it committee or their House proceedings, I think. Was it last week or the week before? When we did the report about Canada and the dairy lobby, etc. Like the Americans, they answer questions like straightforward.
They have to.
Yeah. And we don't have a mechanism. Like when you go to committee, you're expected to tell the truth. But a lot of witnesses, especially if they're government witnesses, like they work in government, like they're ministers or whatnot, they will try to sidestep that.
Well, and in the U.S. system, there are actual penalties for lying to a congressional committee.
Well, and we do have penalties for lying in committee, but they're not very strict. I mean, look at Christian Firth. He got admonished by the speaker. And you're right in that sort of punishment assumes that people are honorable and that getting admonished in that way would make them pariahs in their community. And that's just not the way things work anymore.
And a lot of people getting admonished and being like, I'm admonished.
So what?
Does that mean you get a coupon to the parliamentary bookstore? Is that what that means? So... and Trish Pro for $7. Thank you. If the Liberals lose majority via by-elections, they'll fight to keep status quo, reversing the reasons they used to increase committee seats. Oh, you better believe it. You better believe it. Gothic Blonde Man for 23 months. The Sovereign Wealth Fund, as created by Skidmark and team, is like buying savings bonds on a credit card. Fiscally, it makes no sense. Yep.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's like buying savings bonds. It would be like doing day trading or something on your credit card.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's
bad. It's risky.
It's not even that. It's like using
not a good idea.
No, it's like going into debt to buy crypto, and then use the crypto to go and buy something. That's basically what we're talking about.
That's a very good analogy.
Libby T for $10. Great seeing Libby T in person again. I watched the Immigration Committee meeting this week. Why does the Immigration Minister still have her job? Totally incompetent. That's a great question for Mark Carney. Anima Azura, member for 22 months. Very simple. Really, the fund is for Brookfield.
Well, and they haven't released any details about how they're going to be investing this money. But we did look at the other countries that have sovereign wealth funds, and all of them have investments in Brookfield.
So
is that going to happen in Canada? We can't say yet, but
I think we know.
But I don't like the idea.
Yeah. Gokonai for $2. Hi, Fuzzy. And Whoever's SS for $20. I said on another podcast, watch for it. Those who support the Sovereign Wealth Fund will call anyone who is skeptical or does not invest un-Canadian. Oh, yeah, I agree with that. But here's the problem. When everybody's coming out against it, that's going to be a lot more difficult to do that. And
CBC.
And the swing voters are watching mainstream media come out against it. So that's a really, really powerful thing there. RC Lemmer for $5. Nothing is what it seems. We will soon see politicians and bureaucrats across Canada from all stripes arrested for terrorism and gangsterism. I guess we'll see. And Casper dropping 10 memberships. Great to see you, Casper. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Casper.
And Andrew Walkowicz, member for 4 months. Members of Parliament should be paid in Canada savings bonds if they do their job correctly. When they leave a public office, the bonds should be worth money.
Fair enough.
We've actually kind of talked about that in that my recommendation for getting rid of the conflict of interest stuff is if you have investments, you're required to sell it all. And then you take that and you put that in a government bond, and that bond actually performs according to specific metrics based on what is agreed upon in Canada, like housing and unemployment, inflation, things like that. So if those are all doing well, your bond performs better. That way, these politicians actually have an incentive to do a good job in government. And then their bond actually pays out. So yeah, they get paid more, but the result is the country actually does better overall. So
or you throw it in a GIC.
So and Center 88 for $7. Thank you. Thanks for the awesome content. Happy to be online with the MP Nation community, and we're happy to have you. Private Saves for $2. The Chihuahua is close to Mr. Squeaker in annoyance. Yeah, just in a different way.
Yep.
And Sean for $2.79. Hit like, people. There you go. Thank you. And Neil from the Hill for $10. In Kuzma, Article 27, the other countries, USA and Mexico, can investigate corruption in any country. In 2021, documentation was handed over to the U.S. I am sure arrests becoming corruption is rampant. I guess we'll see.
We'll see, yeah.
Timbit Operator, member for 18 months. Happy Sweet 16. Isn't the $25 billion now supply? You got it. So if it's not in the budget, if it's not in the update, it has to be voted on before they can actually use it. So,
or they'll put it in the next budget because they haven't even figured out how they're going to run this thing.
Well, that's it. Like they're announcing the Sovereign Wealth Fund. Who knows?
Way too early.
They may not even have it until the quote unquote fall budget. Like Carney has completely screwed up the budget cycle.
They're trying to get goodwill with the Canadian people through this announcement. And I don't understand why they don't have the particulars ready to say to Canadians, you know, this is our portfolio. This is where we're going to be investing the money. This is how it's going to work. This is what you can expect in returns, blah, 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 blah.
Imagine this. You go to a car dealership and you walk in and you're like, okay. And a guy comes out and he's like, hi, everybody. Hey, I have a great car to sell you. Okay. Where is it? Well, I can't exactly show it to you yet. Okay. But it's a great car. You'll like it. It has great mileage. It looks great. And it's a great family vehicle. Okay. But I want to see. Well, I can't show it to you yet. Can you at least give me the spec sheet? No, we don't have that either. We need to have some consultations on it. When can I see it? I don't know. This is what this is.
Yeah.
Anyway. Leap Busby for $5. Carney is like traveling snake oil salesman, and not metaphorically. He generally earned the title Conman Carney with the Sovereign Wealth Fund pitch. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like anything about it, especially that, like I said, they did it too early. Give me the details so I can scrutinize them. Don't just make an announcement and wait for praise.
LenTube for $5. Know your MP's contact info. I emailed mine about camera off meetings and felt it mattered. We need to keep speaking up.
100%, especially if they are Liberal or Bloc or NDP. If you go to ourcommons.ca, there is a members tab, and then you can look up your MP by name or your riding. I think maybe even your postal code, but don't quote me on that last one. And they will give you their contact information.
Neil from the Hill for $5. Wanna break in fast. Fill them with hot water. Let them sit for 15 minutes. Empty, then wear them. It worked in the middle. Oh,
Your boots, your new boots.
The boots. Thank you very much. Trust me, it works. I will, because I know nothing about it, so I will trust that. R.C. Lemmer for $2. Political treason is a criminal offense. And Mary Allen, welcome back to NP Supporter Plus. Thank you very, very much for that. Welcome aboard again. Jim Ross for $10. The Liberal government and their appointed bureaucrats and arm-length committees don't look at what is happening today. They look at a visionary future that only they see. In 30 years, it'll be great, right? And in 30 years, it'll be another 30 years.
Yeah, it's that perfect utopia, but reality doesn't reflect that.
Their favorite bureaucrat is named Will C.
That was lame.
You sure about that? Right.
Yeah, it was lame.
Elizabeth Chaffee for $14. All the dads will like that joke. Elizabeth Chaffee for $14. Thank you very much for the hippo spinning in the chair. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Jacinta for $14. Ryan, I want to drop some memberships. I'm on an Apple device and YouTube, no icon to do it.
So there was several months ago, I don't know if it's still happening, but YouTube and Apple were not cooperating, so YouTube had just blocked purchases from Apple devices. Unfortunately, that's all I know. I'm sorry.
Autistic Avenger for $2. Ryan, you checking out the 007 First Light game? Not at this time, no.
You got a really cool pirate game.
Windrose. Ravis Ace for $2. Northern Perspective by World of Warships. I guess that's the ad you got.
Yeah, and just to let everybody know, we do not control which ads come on the channel. YouTube does all that for us, because I know we've gotten a few emails about, this product that I bought because of your ads is garbage or whatever, and then liberals are running ads on your video, so
we don't
control it, unfortunately.
Or maybe he's talking about World of Warships would sponsor us. Yeah, there you go.
Are they Canadian?
Samson, no. The Samson Ram for $2. NP ad on CBC. Troll level equals Chuck Norris,
Nice.
Right? Can you imagine?
Rest in peace.
We don't even know who these people are. Northern Perspective. That would be so funny.
It doesn't say on their website. It's crazy right-wing YouTube channel.
That's right, and we'll put Bob 5 in the ad.
Can we do that legally?
Probably not. Justin Brown for $2.79. Thank you very, very much. And member count for 27 months. CSIS or legal matters. That is true for all levels of government. And we have Lone Wolf for $5. Did the MSM, CBC in particular, actually pay attention to John Broussard when he said do their GD jobs, or is it just a coincidence? I don't know. But maybe John Broussard should make those proclamations more often, and we'll see what happens. And Neil from the Hill for $5. Can Ontarians go to the Supreme Court of Ontario to squash the new law regarding their Freedom of Information Act request? I don't know, but if you're interested, maybe you can contact one of the civil liberties societies or organizations, because that is right up their alley. And we are completely against this, by the way. So, but it wouldn't surprise me if there were Constitution Foundations or civil liberties organizations that are already looking into this. It wouldn't surprise me, but there are most likely some around that are looking into this, and you can always contact them to see what they say about it.
And I guess at the very, very beginning of the stream, Alice Avonlea gifted 10 Northern Perspective memberships. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alice.
And we apologize because YouTube did not show that to us.
I say this to YouTube.
How dare you?
And Myron ends for $5. The grocery rebate is worth as much as passing gas to heat your house in the winter. Excellent comparison. Revu says for $5. I like the bond pay idea, Ryan. Problem is with our current government, that would lead to anyone getting elected would have to pay to go to work. Well, that's only if they have investments, right? If you have no investments, then there's nothing to put in the bond. So, but what they could do is divide the pension payments, because when you're a member of Parliament, you get paid, but chunk of your pay goes into your parliamentary pension.
And it's like 20 or 25%.
That's
is
a lot.
what we've been told, yeah.
So you could divide that. You'd be like 10% goes in the pension, 10% goes in the government bond. So you could do it that way. And Selena, I'm out for 24 months. Congratulations on your 2-year anniversary. Thanks for sticking around. Just to let you know, I got my Conservative membership last week.
Awesome.
And I got a chance to chat with Pierre's manager by email. Nice guy. Love my new card. There you go.
Excellent.
Good for you.
Awesome.
And Myron ends dropping at 10 memberships. Thank you very, very much. So anyway, folks, it's been a fascinating evening. Hopefully everybody found it enlightening and informative, and I hope people took some optimism from this. This is what sustained and relentless pressure on the media and on the government can do. It can produce positive results and government accountability. That's what happened this week. So,
and I guess in my opinion, it's like, if I sit here and do nothing, nothing will happen. But if I call my MP's office and speak to the staff, or if I send them an email and tell them, I'm not happy with these in-camera sessions, maybe something does get done.
And what I say to people is, you know what? Make that your mission. Like some people have said in the chat, I can't be on the front lines. And that's okay. You don't have to be on the front lines. You don't have to be standing on Parliament Hill or anything like that. What you can do is you can write emails and you can call these politicians. And what you can do is encourage one other person to do the same. And you tell them, do what I'm doing, and you encourage one other person to do the same and get them to do the same thing. Because eventually that becomes a tidal wave of pressure, and it forces Ottawa to be held accountable to the Canadian people. So
the way it should be.
Anyway, folks, it's been a long day. I'm really tired.
We got one more member comment from Lawrence Neal for 22 months. Awesome. You're going to get your new colored maple leaf very soon. It says, happy belated birthday, Tanya. What odds would you give the nation turning on Carney the same way they did on Trudeau? I think 100%, because with Canadians, we always get rid of a government. I mean, look at what did Stephen Harper do that was so bad that he was voted out? Nothing, in my opinion.
He got quote unquote boring.
Right. So I think Canadians are very fickle with our government, and eventually the majority of Canadians will get tired of him.
And iOS icon for $2 couldn't get Windrose, so downloaded AC Black Flag. There you go.
Nice.
All right, folks. So thank you for sticking around with us on another Sunday. Hopefully this was informative, as well as mildly at least entertaining. And we got a very interesting week of politics. Check out our afternoon video that'll be dropped tomorrow evening. Hopefully tomorrow evening, depends on when this thing happens tomorrow. And we will have some more news for you regarding what is going on with the mold, tool, and die industry and those folks there. But we will be dropping a cut of one of the videos from this live stream tonight, tomorrow. You could do us a favor and rewatch that and share that. That would really help us out, and it would help out educate people on what exactly is going on with that security clearance. And the Marie era for $5, I wrote to Robert Fife, his editor-in-chief, and the Media Council, asking why he called NP Far Right YouTube channel. I will keep you posted.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I think a lot of people, including us, wrote to the CBC about this because they don't have that video on their website anymore, and it's off their YouTube channel.
We still have it,
We
though.
still have a copy, but they don't.
Anyway, folks, thank you very much. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see you in the comments.
Take care.
Our fathers fought so our voices could be free, that thought and conscience would not bow to decree those rights and only if we choose to take a stand without compromising truth. This land is more than headlines, more than noise and rage. We cut through all the chaos line by line, page by page. NP Nation, raise your voice tonight. Every province, every country stands alone. What do we ignore still shapes the road back home. Power grows when people step aside. We move forward and be nationwide. From the coastline to the prairies, mountain shadow, harbor rain, we carry all these stories, turn the fear into a flame. NP Nation, raise your voice tonight. Every province, every distant sky, we stand for something, we don't step aside. Truth in our hands, hope in our eyes. NP Nation, this is where we rise. We've been bruised, but we're breathing. Yeah, the work cuts deep. Still we answer every morning for the true north, strong and free. Canada, you're worth the struggle. Every question, every call. We're exhausted, but we're upright. We refuse to watch you fall. NP Nation, raise your voice tonight. Every province, every distant sky, we stand for something, we don't step aside. Truth in our hands, hope in our eyes. NP Nation, this is where we rise. Freedom thrives when truth is on our side, when we resist despair and the power that divides. So we step forward, no more standing by.